Greetings, everyone, and welcome to the Produce Buzzers podcast. We're so happy that you've joined us today, and I think you will be too after the show is over. You will have learned a lot about fresh fruits and vegetables, how to prepare them, what their nutritional value is, all about their history and origin. We hope you'll find it interesting, and we hope it inspires you to eat more fresh fruits and vegetables, not only to improve your health, but to enjoy their deliciousness while you do so. Welcome once again to another installment of the Produce Buzzers podcast. I'm your host, Edwin Stepp, and executive editor of ProduceBuzz.com. As always, we are joined by Teresa Nolan, the founder and president of Produce Buzz, as well as Rick Stepp, a contributor to the Produce Buzz, and the lovely Cynthia Benedetto, also a contributor to Produce Buzz. This episode is our special Thanksgiving episode, in which we will feature some of the most popular Thanksgiving fruits and veggies. I'm sure you have already guessed what they may be without me telling you. But please stay tuned to learn all about Brussels sprouts and cranberries, just to begin with. Plus, we will once again play the Mystery Fruit or Veggie Quiz Challenge. Will you be able to guess what it is? Play along with our Produce Buzzers and see if you can. I will even go ahead and give you one hint now. It is a fruit or veggie that is very popular at Thanksgiving, so that should narrow it down significantly for you. So let's get started. I was reading this week about a supermarket in Brussels, Belgium, that is growing all kinds of vegetables on its rooftop. Now that's not new, of course. That's been happening in a lot of places over the past few years. Have you guys read about that? They're trying to grow things in cities on top of buildings.
Yes.
Seems to be a big trend and a great use of space, and I think even helps the buildings energy-wise with having that cover on the top. But this supermarket in Brussels, since March, has harvested more than 2 tons of fruits and vegetables. They started it just to supply their restaurants and to use the space more efficiently, but they had so much left over that they were actually able to give it to charitable causes and food banks in the area. So it was really amazing. They have a restaurant in the supermarket that uses most of it, but what they had left over they sent to local food banks. So that was interesting. But that was kind of another definition and meaning for Brussels sprouts.
All
Should
right.
that have been in the homegrown segment?
Maybe so.
And today I want to talk about Brussels sprouts because this time of year is when they really get good. The later in the year with the cold weather helps them ripen up and develop a more sugar and sweetness as opposed to the bitterness. A lot of people out there suffer from BSA. Do you know what BSA is?
Allergy? Brussels sprouts allergy?
Close. That was a good guess. Brussels sprouts. Avoidance. No, that's another good one. That might be better. But the reason they suffer from Brussels sprouts avoidance is because of Brussels sprouts abuse.
Oh, okay.
Most people who don't like them say they're too bitter. The smell of them, they can't get past the smell. And the reason of that, in most cases, is because they're not cooked properly. So that's why I say it's abuse. The Brussels sprouts were abused. The people eating them were not enjoying them. Sprouts contain a substance called sulforaphane, which when they are overcooked, begins to smell like rotten eggs and creates that bitter taste. So that's where the BSA problem comes from. But as I said, this vegetable, Brussels sprouts, is one of my favorites. I think as a kid, I wasn't too crazy about them, probably because they weren't cooked properly when I had them. And here in the South, growing up in the South, people tended to overcook their vegetables. Every vegetable overcooked, just boiled for hours. So it was boiled down to a pulp. But we want to highlight them this week because this is our Thanksgiving episode, and a lot of people serve them on Thanksgiving. It's not probably as popular as sweet potatoes and cranberries and some of the other veggies, but it is one of the more popular ones. And in Britain, it's very big for Christmas time. So this is a good time, as I said. The colder weather helps make them sweeter. And so now is a good time to be picking up Brussels sprouts. And I've seen them in the local stores here. When they become more prevalent, also they get cheaper. So it's a really good time to have them. First, a little history of the veggie of the week, these Brussels sprouts. They're called Brussels sprouts because the first recording we have in history, a mention of Brussels sprouts, was in a 13th century cookbook, and it was a French cookbook actually, but they gave credit to where they were getting them from, which was in and around Brussels, Belgium. And of course, the French word for Brussels sprouts is chou de Bruxelles, which means cabbage of Brussels. And of course, you know, these Brussels sprouts look like tiny little cabbages, and they are related. They are in the same Brassica family. So the French were the first to record them, but they really broke out into popularity in the 19th century in Britain. And Britain really put them on the global map, you might say, because they really became a very popular dish at Christmas time. So there are over 100 varieties of Brussels sprouts, but most consumers will be hard-pressed to tell the difference. There's not a lot of difference in taste or appearance, except for the purple varieties. Have you guys seen purple Brussels sprouts before?
I don't think so.
I don't think I have.
Yeah, they exist. I've had them before.
Yes.
They're rare. I don't see them very often in the grocery stores, but I made my own purple Brussels sprouts once when I couldn't get purple Brussels sprouts by sautéing them in wine. They were delicious. The purple ones have the higher antioxidant levels, as I think we know, and we've pointed out here that usually if you have a purple variety of a vegetable, it's going to have more of the antioxidants. And so I was thinking, well, I'm sautéing them in wine. They only got the color. They probably didn't get the antioxidants, but maybe there is something there from left.
But if you put a straw in the bottle and have it with your meal,
there you go.
there'll be some antioxidants from your wine, right?
Well, at least it was resveratrol, the other thing from wine.
Yeah.
Yeah, so Brussels sprouts are usually cooked. They can be boiled, steamed, roasted, sautéed, or grilled. I like them roasted. That's my favorite way.
That's the best.
What about you guys? What's your favorite way to prepare them?
Yeah, I like to bake them 350 degrees for maybe 20 minutes.
Perfect.
Put a little Parmesan cheese on top of them,
Yeah,
and
that sounds great.
it's great. Yeah.
I like them straight up.
Yeah, raw.
No, what I do is I cut them in half, put them in my microwave vegetable steamer,
Mr. Microwave.
and they are excellent.
Irradiate them.
They don't need any seasoning. They're perfect just like they are.
That's right. The radiation, there's something about it.
Yeah.
How many minutes? How many minutes in the microwave?
Well, for approximately a pound of them cut in half, I would steam them for 4 minutes on high.
Yeah.
And then I put them in the refrigerator, and I eat them in my salad every night. I don't even heat them up. I just take them out of the refrigerator and cut them up a little bit more and mix them in with my salad.
Yeah.
Here again, I love just about every vegetable. I don't think there's a vegetable I don't like, but the steamer is my best friend because it's so easy.
Yeah.
And I love the flavor. I don't have like my wife's favorite way to make Brussels sprouts is with butter, fry them in butter, and they are excellent that way, but it takes away the natural flavor of the Brussels sprouts, I think.
Interesting.
And you can acquire a taste for them, just like a good wine or whatever.
Yeah. There was a restaurant in Pasadena that you had a shaved Brussels sprout salad, and they were raw.
Okay.
but shaved. It's like, it was the texture of coleslaw. And then they had a nice vinaigrette over it and some Parmesan cheese, sliced Parmesan cheese as opposed to grated, slices.
Yeah.
Really good, delicious. And I think they threw in some cranberries or something. I can't remember now. It's been a while since I've had it. But
Sometimes I toss cranberries into my baked ones after you take them out. Toss the cranberries in. It gives a contrast, the sweetness of the dried cranberries.
One of the most fun ways I have made them is at a Thanksgiving a few years ago. We bought them on the stalk. Have you seen them on the stalk?
Yes.
And you can just put that, we sprayed some oil on it to help it roast. Not everybody wants the oil, and I don't think you would need it. But just lay it on a sheet pan in the oven and let them roast on the stalk. And then you take that out and it can become like a centerpiece on a nice table for Thanksgiving. And you put a little knife there for people to, once they're cooked, they slice off really easily. You can do it with a butter knife. And the stalk can be eaten too. I don't think we did. I think we filled up on the sprouts themselves and not the stalk, but the stalk is edible, and if you roast it enough, it becomes soft and tender. But it's really it's a nice looking thing on the table if people like Brussels sprouts. Anyway.
An unusual centerpiece.
Right, exactly. So they contain hefty amounts of vitamin A, C, and K. And they're also a great source of B vitamins, which can help you deal with stress and anxiety. Anybody feeling that these days? Mm-hmm. Have a high amount of dietary fiber, which has been proven to ward off colon and stomach cancers. That same substance that gave them the bitter taste, sulforaphane, also is a big part of their health benefit. It's a phytochemical that is believed to be a big cancer fighter. But again, don't overcook them, or that sulforaphane will ruin your taste for them. So,
define overcook.
Well, good question. Mushy, yeah.
Yes.
So roasting them to
roasting
to
them. Yeah, I don't think roasting. It's more the boiled versions of them, because usually when you roast them, the more charred they get, the more the sugars come out.
Right.
That charring,
right.
either sautéing or roasting or even baking, as Teresa was saying, that
caramelizes the sugar.
Caramelizes the sugar and makes them sweeter. But I think the boiled works the opposite way. So mushy is the problem.
I think some people char them too much.
That would be me.
They're
crunchy. They sound like potato chips.
Okay, well, I hope we've helped you get over BSA today. We'll put up some recipes on our website so that you can try them and maybe change your mind about them. They're very healthy, very good for you, and delicious. As Rick said, you can develop a taste for them. So, Produce Buzzers podcast fans, it's time to hear from our fearless leader, Teresa Nolan, founder and president of Produce Buzz. Today, Teresa is going to tell us about one of our favorite fall fruits, cranberries. Teresa, tell us what you have to tell us about cranberries.
Cranberries are actually one of the few fruits that are indigenous to North America, and Native Americans attributed medicinal qualities to the berries. They made poultices from them to draw poison from wounds. They used the red juice as a fabric dye. And they made and ate a long-lasting suet-like food called pemmican. And to do that, they crushed cranberries with dried deer meat and melted fat. And then they used it kind of as an emergency food in the wintertime.
Wow. How did they keep that? Do you know how it was?
I think it could just be kept at room temperature.
Wow.
So it would be sort of like
maybe a cured ham or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, because the deer meat was dried and the cranberries last a long time, and then they used melted fat over them. So
that's what I missed. You probably said it, but I missed the fact that the meat was dried. So that explain it. It's like jerky, probably.
Yeah. Each of the native tribes had their own name for the berries. In New Jersey, the Delaware tribe used it as a symbol of peace. Their chief, Pacamenson, would distribute them at tribal peace feasts, and his name eventually came to mean cranberry eater. So then in Plymouth, Massachusetts, the first pilgrims that landed would gather to pick enough fruit to preserve for the winters. And it was illegal and punishable by a $1 fine to pick the berries before September 20th. So, get in a lot of trouble. Even though I think they found that some of the white cranberries have special nutritional qualities that berries don't have when they turn red. So I guess you could have said the people who were going after them when they were not quite ripe, actually ahead of their time.
So white cranberries are unripe. They're white before they get red.
They will be white and then they turn red. Yes.
Yeah, that's not a different type of cranberry, a white cranberry.
It's just that they color up,
Yeah.
during the last few weeks before that you harvest them. So
Right.
I did some research on that, and that mandate about the harvest time was actually mandated by the Ocean Spray Cooperative.
Really?
They were already there at the Plymouth
Jim Nolan
plantation.
signed off on that, I think.
We should tell our listeners what an expert Teresa is. Teresa, she didn't just pick cranberries because she likes to make cranberry sauce. She has been intimately involved in the cranberry industry for many, many years. Her husband was what was his official title? He was the
National and international sales manager for fresh cranberries.
Fresh cranberries. So
yes.
And he held that position for many, many, many years. And Teresa helped market and merchandise those cranberries for Ocean Spray for quite a few years as well. So anyway, just wanted our listeners to understand that this is not just, your own, not just research you read out of a book.
Sure. Yeah. So, yeah, German and Dutch settlers called it the craneberry because the flower was shaped like the bill of a crane. So that's probably where our modern day name for cranberries came from. They're grown in Massachusetts, New Jersey, Wisconsin, Washington State, and some are grown in Eastern and Western Canada. They require about 3 months of 30-degree temperatures to produce berries. So that's why you don't see them growing down in Florida. The harvest starts in mid-September, so they're available in time for the October Canadian Thanksgiving. Most fresh berries are harvested dry by using a lawnmower-like machine with finger-like metal prongs that pull the berries off the vine and then deposit them into sacks. Then the sacks are dumped into large bins and they are trucked to the place where they're graded and packaged. Sometimes growers actually use helicopters to lift the bins out of bogs to prevent damage to the vines. Fruit destined to be juice is usually water harvested, or is mostly water harvested, but some fresh fruit is too. And I have read that environmentalists prefer the fresh fruit that's dry harvested because they feel like it does less harm to the marshy areas that cranberries grow in. If the fresh fruit is harvested wet, then they have to be put in dryers. And of course, that may impact the quality of the fruit long term.
Can you tell our listeners about that water harvesting? Because it is a fascinating thing to see. And probably most of our listeners have seen a glimpse of it in some of those Ocean Spray commercials. But can you tell them how that's done? I think that would be interesting.
Well, yes. With water harvesting, the bogs are flooded with about 18 inches of water the night before the berries are harvested. And an egg beater-like machine dislodges the berries from the vines. And because cranberries have a lot of air inside them, the berries float to the surface. The water will just be covered with red berries, and it's really beautiful from a distance or as you're driving by the bogs. So then they corral the berries using hinged 4x4s. And a lot of times they just use conveyors to lift them into the waiting trucks. It is really a gorgeous sight in the fall of the year to drive by a wet harvested bog.
Yeah, you see it's like a big pond with just bright, brilliant red. And then if certain time, if the fall colors are on the edge of the bog, that combination of red and then the fall colors is just amazing.
Yes, I would actually recommend to anyone who's doing leaf peeking in the Northeast to find a few bogs to drive by during the harvest, because it makes a gorgeous sight.
And those commercials, those ocean spray commercials, those kind of goofy farmers that they used were usually standing in those flooded bogs with the cranberries around them. So you may have, I bet a lot of people didn't understand why those guys were standing in a flooded bog with cranberries around them. Probably what these guys are what are they doing? Because it wasn't explained in the commercials, I don't think.
No, and as long as I've been in ag, the close proximity I have, literally and figuratively, to ocean spray, I have never seen what you just described as from the harvest.
Wow.
Well, you'll have to make a special trip up.
I will, absolutely.
I have a picture of me with those two guys right here.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Can you take a picture of that with a camera or phone and send it to me, Rick?
Sure.
How did you get that picture?
It was at an ocean spray booth at the produce show.
Oh, okay. So was it really the guys? Or was
it really? They had the guys there,
okay.
And then the background is fake.
Yeah.
But you could take a picture with those two guys
standing in the bog.
Yeah.
They had waders on, but you didn't.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, you can't really see if I could have had boots on, I guess.
You had your dress pants. Were you in a tie there? Anyway.
Let's see. No, it's almost believable.
Almost. It was hard to see on the screen, but it looked like you might be standing in the bog to me.
That's great. Now, when you package fruit for the fresh market, it has to pass the bounce test to make it into the bags. And the way this test came about, a New Jersey grower named John Webb, also known as Peg Leg John, was responsible for developing the test. So he always stored his cranberries in the barn loft. And because he was unable to carry them down the ladder, he would pour them down. And he noticed that the good berries bounced off the ladder while the soft ones remained on the steps. This discovery led to a mechanical bounce test that is still used to this day. But it's also said that Peg Leg John used his wooden peg leg to make the holes in the bogs when he planted his vines. So he had multiple.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
I'm imagining all kinds of stories about how he got the peg leg.
I know, that's what I was going to say.
Yeah.
Did it mention anything about his accident?
No. But there were lots of farming accidents in the early history of our country. A lot of people were injured or maimed in farming accidents. So, yeah.
Poor John.
Yeah.
I heard that he was in the whaling industry in the off season. That's how he was.
Did he have a patch over one eye and a parrot?
No, but his middle name was Ishmael.
Yeah. Anyway, so from December through March, the growers will flood the bogs to protect the vines from the winter cold. When the bogs freeze over, they become a great skating rink. And to your point, Edwin, about not understanding why the guys who did the ocean spray ad were standing in a sea of berries. When I first flew up to Massachusetts to meet up with Jim after he got his job with ocean spray, I was sitting beside someone who told me, "Oh, your husband's working for ocean spray. Oh, I remember skating on the bogs." And I was thinking, how is that possible? I was just like, oh, okay. I didn't want to act like I didn't know what he was talking about. But, You can see the berries through the ice, he said. So,
Oh, wow.
have many.
Wow.
Moving on to the health benefits of cranberries. We've all heard that they're supposed to be good for preventing and treating urinary tract infections. I think that they now believe that the cranberry powder is more effective in that, but it is true that the cranberries are kind of a natural preventative as far as bacteria growth. And at one time, Ocean Spray, in the early 90s, Ocean Spray was sued by the town of Middleborough, Massachusetts, where they do their processing, for putting cranberry waste into their sewer system, which was keeping their sewer system from meeting federal standards. I guess it was cutting down the bacteria that would normally make the sewage disintegrate or whatever. So they ended up having to pay a fine for that.
Wow.
But
Thank God it was only like antibiotic. It was a bacteria and wasn't like something, carcinogenic.
Right. It was just too much of a good thing getting into their system. So.
But there was the carcinogenic scare of the cranberries. Teresa may talk about that. Maybe we won't talk about it. And if you don't,
well, that was back in 1959. I still remember it because cranberries were always my favorite part of Thanksgiving. And that year we did not get to eat cranberries because there was like one field in Washington State where they detected too much of some type of pesticide or something being used, and it just decimated the fresh cranberry industry. But that was also when they started developing the juice products, I believe. That's when the growers found another use for their cranberries other than just fresh. So
wow. So it wasn't that the cranberry juice or fresh juice or the fresh product was cancer causing. It was the pesticides that they were finding on it, right?
Yes. And it was one bog in Washington State.
Right.
So that's not even, Washington State is a smaller growing area. It's more grown in Massachusetts and Wisconsin than are grown in Washington State. So
right.
It just shows how one little mistake can make a big problem for an industry.
Right. Mm-hmm.
So cranberries also are supposed to decrease inflammation. They say they may help prevent certain cancers. They improve your immune function. They benefit the digestive tract. They reduce the risk of heart disease, and they're very high in vitamin C. So much so that sailors used to use them on trips from America to England to prevent scurvy.
Right.
Now, there's nothing like fresh made cranberry sauce for Thanksgiving. And I am just so prejudiced that in that category, I just think you always should make your own fresh cranberry sauce for that holiday and for Christmas. Cranberries are tart, and most recipes call for a lot of sugar. You'll find recipes on the backs of packages for fresh cranberry sauce. Mainly is like 1 cup of sugar, 1 cup of water, or a cup of orange juice. I know Rick likes to do the orange juice in his.
Yeah, I use fresh squeezed orange juice in mine.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
So you actually squeeze it from the oranges yourself then?
Yeah, and I don't put any water. I just I substitute the orange juice for the water.
Right.
It makes it even sweeter, I think.
Yeah, because there's not a lot of natural sugar in the orange.
Are you still using sugar, or could you get away without suger? Okay.
There's no point in eating cranberry sauce if you don't use sugar.
Yeah.
I mean, you could do it, but it wouldn't be that enjoyable.
What about that one that we used to do, Teresa, and it had like a little bit of jalapeno in it?
Oh, yeah.
And with all those ingredients. And the best combination I ever found were the Frito scoops, because then you had the salty and the sweet and the acidic. It was really good.
That's one of the cranberry salsa recipes, which we'll also talk about here.
You know what, though?
Cranberry salsa.
Yeah.
And it's made with fresh cranberries and cilantro and onion.
It had some citrus in it. I don't think it was juice.
The jalapeno.
Oh, you're thinking of the cranberry orange relish. That's what they call it. That's a package of cranberries, a whole navel orange, and a cup of sugar, and you put it in the blender and chop it until it's all nice and integrated. And that makes a wonderful relish to go over meat or just to eat on the side.
Do you have to cook the cranberries or just raw cranberries?
No, you do them fresh. You do them fresh. And even for the cranberry salsa recipe that we were talking about, that is just whole cranberry.
But
whole
then
cranberry.
it's what with cilantro and what else was on it? Is that green? Was it white onions or scallions?
Well, the recipe called for scallions, but I put regular onion in it when I don't have scallions. So cranberries, the scallions, the cilantro, a little bit of jalapeno, and
is that orange juice or orange?
There's no orange juice in that. There's
but
no orange juice in
it's
that. But you put sugar in it too.
But wait a minute. So there's no citrus in it?
Not in that one. So you're confusing because there's a relish and there's a salsa.
You know what? I think I put them both in. I was just like, yeah, I like them both.
The relish is just cranberries, a navel orange, and a cup of sugar in a blender. That's it. And
you use lime in this? Oh, you're going to give the recipe, so I'll shut up. Go ahead.
Yeah, the salsa is like a green onion or just a regular onion cut in quarters, a jalapeno pepper, a 12-ounce package of cranberries, 3/4 of a cup of sugar. And this says 1/4 of a cup of cumin, a teaspoon of dried cilantro.
1/4 of a cup?
Pardon?
1/4 of a cup of cumin?
Oh, 1/4 of a teaspoon of cumin.
Oh.
I'll be like the Little Rascals if you remember that.
I thought of the same thing.
That's a lot of cumin. 1/4 of a teaspoon. Thank you for catching that.
No worries.
Then a teaspoon of dried cilantro or a tablespoon of fresh cilantro. I like the fresh better. And the recipe does call for 2 teaspoons of lime juice.
Yeah,
and that goes all into the blender, and you don't cook it. You just mix it up. And if you let it sit overnight, the flavors will blend even more. But it is, it's really good as soon as you make it too. It's really delicious. So, but back to the fresh cranberry recipe, the cooked sauce, when you put your cup of sugar, your 12-ounce bag of cranberries, a cup of water, you bring the water and sugar to a boil and then add the berries. And then you cook the berries until they pop. And that's the secret to getting a really good sauce. So you can use a substitute sugar, something like a Splenda or
like a monk fruit.
What monk fruit did you say?
Yeah. Like that's like the new sweetener that's derived from monk fruit.
Oh, okay. Well, definitely stevia would work. I found when I cooked with stevia that you're better off adding that after you cook it. I don't know why. It just seemed like it did better, but I'll have to experiment with that and get back to you on it.
I don't know if the stevia would gel the same as sugar, would it?
I don't know.
Because you want it to thicken, you want it to almost gel on a fresh cranberry sauce.
I did experiment with taking some dates. There's a recipe for dates sugar with medjool dates. You take 2 cups of dates that have no pits in them and 1 1/4 cups of water and put it in a blender and you mix it and it becomes almost like a sauce. So today I actually tried cooking cranberry sauce using that, and it came out more like an applesauce, it tasted like applesauce with cranberries in it, because that was the consistency it came out to. I had Ken taste it. He said he would rate it a B. So he wasn't that crazy about it. But if you're looking for some way to substitute just basic sugar, you would at least get all the good things that dates have in it, like the phytonutrients and that stimulate the immune system and reduce inflammation. They say they even are supposed to prevent DNA damage. I don't know whether that's true. They're supposed to improve hormone regulation. And you get a lot of fiber from it too. So, if you're just looking for ways to modify a recipe and get some sweetness, you're still going to have, there's still going to be sugars in that because, fruits have natural sugars too, but you would at least get some of the other health benefits that the dates would add to it. So
Yeah. Sugar is sugar, I guess, no matter where it comes
yeah,
from.
that's right. Your body's going to react to it, but sometimes when you have more fiber, it slows the release of the sugar in your system.
Yep.
So
It's been proven over and over again that getting sugar from fresh fruit is not as big a problem as anything with processed sugar, because
If I ate some bread, which would be some fiber with sugar, then that would be the same chemical reaction.
maybe, yeah.
You guys
So-
probably won't believe this, but I actually have fresh cranberries every night. I put them in the freezer.
Uh-huh.
How long does a bag of raw, fresh stay usable in the freezer?
At least 2 years.
2 years.
Yeah,
On
at least the way I use them.
Yeah. Go ahead, Rick.
Because what I do is I pick my aronia berries that I grow myself in my garden and put them in the freezer, and I buy cranberries. I'll buy like 8 bags of cranberries when they're in season and put those in the freezer. And then so I take a few cranberries and a few aronia berries and I put them in the blender with water and make a juice out of it. It's like 90% water and maybe 10% berries. And then I mix that with a pint of brandy every night.
A pint. A pint.
He doesn't want to drink too much sugar, so he makes sure that
What is that cocktail? You need to start selling that. Cranberry aronia berry brandy would probably sell very well.
Well, I think if you just made a mix that you can buy in the liquor store, you could mix it with vodka or anything.
Right.
But when you mix them with that much water, you can't really taste them. It tastes like water.
Yeah.
But seriously, I have that every night. I don't use a pint of brandy, but maybe a half pint.
That sounds like a great cocktail, a great little cocktail.
Yeah, it makes a good one. And I found out there's actually a recipe where you use cranberry juice and whiskey, and it's called a Brandy Ricky.
Oh.
Yeah, it was kind of funny because I never knew that until I was doing my deal.
Yeah.
the name was already trademarked, huh?
Yeah.
Ricky.
That takes away the guilt of eating cranberries when you don't have to add processed sugar. Just a little booze.
I don't have that problem.
I think the booze is pure sugar. So there you go. As Rick mentioned, cranberries freeze well. And if you look it up online, they say you can store them up to a year. But I, like Rick, have used some that were more than a year old. Mm-hmm. So
do they have freezer burn?
No, they don't.
Once you add some jalapeno, some sugar, everything's good.
That's right. And you don't have to thaw them. You just throw them in frozen, even if you're making the cranberry salsa or the cranberry relish.
Well, it's not like they're going to make you sick. It's just that the quality is not going to be as good if they're over a year.
Yeah. Yeah, they probably dehydrate some.
But you're not going to get sick
when you cook them for cranberry sauce, you're rehydrating them with water. So
yeah.
You'd have to be a real connoisseur to figure out that these cranberries are 2 years old.
Yeah.
Teresa, remember when we used to do a couple of the demos, and we would make that, and then it was about the same time that Driscoll changed their packaging to the 1 pound pint.
Mm-hmm.
And so I could eat a 1 pound pint while I'm gobbling them down when you're like doing the demo for actually more merchandising stuff for the retailers, and then we would go and do that, and I'd eat all the giveaways,
all the salsa.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yes. And they thought we were giving that to customers, and we were eating it ourselves. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Well, so, the only other thing I would add is that talking about using dates as a sweetener, reminded me of a story I heard from someone. They said that they were sitting on a bench, and they looked over, and there was this really nice looking guy across the way from them sitting on another bench, and he was reading, and she just thought, I want to meet this guy. So she got up and walked over to him, and she said, I think we should go out, and I think it's meant to be, because you're sitting here on this bench reading Mark Twain, and that is like my favorite literature, because I wrote my thesis on it. And he said, wow, he said, this has always been my favorite. He's always been my favorite writer. And, I've read Tom Sawyer about 15 times. So yeah. And he said, what else makes you think we should go out? And she said, well, I noticed that you were sitting there eating a prune, and I just love prunes. I eat prunes every day. And he said, it's a date.
She said, no, I don't like prunes.
Oh,
Anyway.
wait, that should be homegrown. We should be growing.
You could dub that in later.
Good.
We could do it in later. Yeah.
It didn't have anything to do with, it did have to do with the dates as sugar, I guess.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Okay.
I want to interject one other thing about a good drink with cranberries. I haven't done it in a long time, but you can take the fresh cranberries and fresh apple cider like we used to make, the unfiltered fresh cider.
Uh-huh.
Put a few cranberries in the bottom of the blender, put the cider in there and blend it really good, and then mix it with a larger quantity, and it makes a really good apple cranberry drink. The only sugar in there is the sugar from the apple cider.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I bet that would be really good, and it would make the cider a little bit on the tart side.
Yeah.
Make it not so sweet, which sounds good to me.
So you're using the apple cider and cranberries, and you're blending it with what?
Just the cider and the cranberries.
Oh,
So
okay.
if I was going to make a whole gallon, like for a party or something, I would take the blender and put a few cranberries in the bottom of the blender, and then put enough cider in there to cover that, so you could blend it up really good.
Mm-hmm.
And then you could mix it with a larger solution of just cider, so that I don't think you want to make it 50-50 by any means.
Yeah.
If you don't mind the pulp and the fiber in your drink, which I actually like that.
I do too.
Like some people don't like orange juice with pulp in it. That's my favorite kind.
Yeah.
If you don't mind that in there, it's very inexpensive to buy during the season. You can buy a gallon of fresh cider for $3.50 in some places on sale, and just take a few cranberries. You've got an apple cranberry drink that's very inexpensive,
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah. But some people would want to, after they made it, they would want to strain it, because they wouldn't be able to stand the pulp and the fiber in the drink, which you could certainly do that, filter out the fiber.
Mm-hmm.
Well, anything else about cranberries, Teresa?
Well, something else you can do if you make the cranberry relish is if you can add that to a muffin, and it makes a wonderful cranberry orange muffin. It's really, really tasty. You get
Just
As a
mix it in
jam or in the batter.
You put it in the batter.
Mm-hmm.
And mix it in, and it really gives it a great flavor. The muffin tastes very orangey, and at the same time you can taste the cranberry too. So
Yeah, that's good.
kind of a nice recipe to follow.
I like cranberry.
Cynthia gave me an idea though. I'm actually when I make my cranberry sauce this year, I'm actually gonna make a batch with fresh jalapenos added to it, with the orange juice, the cranberries, the sugar.
Oh my gosh,
Fresh
it is
jalapeno.
so good. It is so good. I always de-seed it and devein it, because I can't really take it so hot. But and then you add like something salty to it. Oh,
Well, on the
such
cranberry
good.
sauce, I'm going to blend the hot peppers in with the orange juice in the blender before I cook it, so that it'll have that hot pepper flavor. And just see, I'll let you know. It probably will not be good.
I don't know. It's a good recipe.
Yeah. Because one time I got when we had our farmers market in Charlotte, I had the bright idea of making a apple hot pepper pie.
Apple hot pepper. What kind of hot pepper?
I use the green chilies, cayenne peppers.
Oh, cayenne, yeah.
The long green peppers are actually called a cayenne pepper, but
I didn't know that.
But a lot of people call them green chili peppers. But anyway, I made an apple hot pepper pie. And I want you to know it was the most terrible pie I've ever eaten in my entire life. It was awful.
Okay, so we won't be offering that recipe to our listeners, and they'll be very thankful for that. So let's move along. Produce Buzzers podcast fans, it's time to play the Mystery Fruit or Veggie of the Day Challenge quiz. Our great players here at the Produce Buzzers are getting better and better at recognizing from the clues I give and guessing the mystery fruit or veggie of the day. So Produce Buzzers, pomegranate. Oh no, you got it. Oh,
I didn't get any reaction from the cantaloupe, so
I didn't hear it. That's good. You can probably, just keep guessing. You'll get it. All right, stop. All right, Produce Buzzers, are you ready to play the mystery fruit or veggie of the day challenge quiz?
Yes.
Okay, great. Let's go. Okay, so some anthropologists believe that today's mystery fruit or veggie is proof that Polynesians could sail completely across the Pacific, even in their primitive and small boats, many, many hundreds of years ago.
Mangoes.
Coconut.
Yeah, that's what I figured you'd guess, but I've taken you completely off the track. So let's go. Okay. The reason I believe that is that remains of this fruit or veggie have been found all throughout the South Pacific Islands and carbon dated as far back as 1000 AD.
Pineapple.
Nope, not pineapple. This fruit or veggie is a close relative of morning glory flowers. So it's a plant that is a vine, and like the morning glory, its flowers open up in the morning and then close up again by afternoon, of course, when they're blooming. This fruit or veggie does not grow well in northern climates. It needs abundant sunshine and warm nights. But they are one of the easiest plants to grow. Very pest resistant, need very little fertilizer, and because of their hefty leaves, they aren't invaded by weeds very often.
Watermelon.
No, not watermelon.
Okay, I quit. I'm going home.
Zucchini.
Those are good guesses. Kind of on the right track, but in Central and South America, where this fruit or veggie originated, they call them camote. No, I know that. And they did originate in Central and South America, and that's why the anthropologists believed that the Polynesians were sailing all the way to South America to take this plant from South America back to their islands. So Central South America and all over the Caribbean, they've been there for many hundreds of years as well. In fact, Christopher Columbus' crew ate these when they first arrived in the Americas in 1492. One of the first things they found that they could eat that was new to them. But the natives of the Caribbean called this fruit or veggie batata. And sometimes, speaking of the name for this fruit or veggie, some people wrongly call this fruit or veggie by another name. It gets confused.
Sweet potatoes.
There you go. Ding, ding, ding. Sweet potatoes. And what's the wrong name that people call them?
They call them yams.
Yeah. The yam is actually not completely different. They are somewhat related.
They're like cousins.
Yeah, distant cousins though. Yams are usually white. There's a lot of different colored yams, but they're not sweet generally. But neither a yam nor a sweet potato is a potato. They're a completely different type of veggie.
What are they?
They're just not a potato. They are a tuber,
Come on, Rick. You don't know the genealogy of this?
Well, I knew that sweet potatoes are like morning glories, the vines.
They're like what?
Sweet potatoes are like a morning glory vine.
Oh,
They're
I
very
thought you said
close.
mongoloids.
And
I'm
I
like,
should have gotten it by that clue.
Yeah.
I thought you.
But I never really thought about that sweet potatoes were found in the South Pacific.
Yeah, I didn't know that either until I started doing the research, and I thought that was very interesting that they're been there for hundreds of years, and before the Europeans came.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you're getting better, produce buzzers, guessing quicker. Maybe my clues are getting better too. You probably know that sweet potatoes are off the charts in beta carotene, which converts to vitamin A. 1 cup serving of sweet potatoes has over 750% of the recommended daily allowance of vitamin A. So if you're short on your vitamin A, go there. And there's also very high in vitamin C, probably wouldn't surprise you, 600% of the recommended daily allowance for vitamin C in a cup serving. So very healthy, and it's a great substitute for other carbohydrates because of its nutritional density. The potato French fry is now in steep competition with the sweet potato French fry. It seems like they're almost on every restaurant menu now as an option. So, and of course, North Carolina is the largest growing sweet potato state. California is right behind them, and Louisiana is the other big grower of sweet potatoes in the U.S. But they cannot call them yams. The USDA prohibits them from labeling them yams. But of course, there are a lot of people here, especially in the South, I know, who look at them and say yams, and you're not going to change that. They're going to call them whatever they want to call them. But, I guess a sweet potato by any other name is just as sweet.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of grocery stores still advertise them as yams.
I know. I've seen that. Yeah.
I didn't realize it was against the law.
Well, what does that mean against the law? The guys shipping them can't put yams on them.
Oh, okay.
But I think maybe it isn't. Maybe it would be against the law for the store to label them that way.
That's got to be some packaging violation.
I don't know.
No, like from the grocery store, like you couldn't say that they're organic, or you couldn't say,
Right. Yeah.
I'm going to pull a joke on the produce manager next time I see them labeled yams.
Oh my God. They come and they see me and they start running for produce manager.
I'm going to walk in and I'm going to say, do you realize I'm with the USDA? Do you realize you're in violation of code 376 of the produce labeling, Truth in Labeling Act?
Do people in Minnesota call them yams?
Yeah, they do. I've seen them in the stores here. I'm pretty sure every year even in the ads, they'll say yams.
Yeah.
For an ad, because it sounds like more of a Thanksgiving thing when you say like candied yams,
Yeah.
Right. Got it.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it is a Thanksgiving, one of the staples at Thanksgiving for most people, I guess. Maybe not everybody, but I know it has been in our family and my family for a long time. And this is the time of the year when they're the best, although you can get them pretty much year round. I think they store very well. And so I don't eat them that often, but I do enjoy, especially just throw one in the oven and bake it up.
It's just so easy to deal with. Throw it in a saucepan of water, bring it to a boil, then put it down, wait till it cools. And then if you slice that, then it's firm enough that it hasn't completely become like a baked potato, but then they'll hold its shape, and then you can just like quickly saute it and then use it as a side.
Oh, that sounds good. I love roasting them, just cubing them and roasting. Mm-hmm. They're fantastic that way.
Yeah.
And what's amazing about a sweet potato is you can just bake a sweet potato. You don't need sugar. You don't need anything on it. They're great.
Well. Sometimes.
Have you ever tried eating one with just the potato, just the sweet potato? Yeah. I mean,
it tastes excellent.
They're sweet enough. Some people think that the only use for them is to make candied yams, for Thanksgiving.
Sweet potato pie.
That was a misnomer there.
Yeah. Well, that's what they call them.
Yeah.
If you bake them, you have to bake them long enough, they just become totally sugar. It's just amazing. But you have to bake them until they get really, really soft. And then you will find that they are extra sweet like that.
Yep.
And you can make a sweet potato pie from it. And all you need is the sweet potato and the spices. And it's
And a crust.
There we go again. The spices. It's everything in the spices.
Yeah. The pumpkin spices.
Exactly.
That's
Yeah, the
basically
same
what-
spices.
Right. Yeah. I was looking at some recipes, and maybe we'll share those on producebuzz.com with our listeners. I found some really interesting avant-garde sweet potato recipes. I found one for a Thai flavored soup with sweet potatoes. It looked really good. I love Thai food, so I'm partial to that. But.
For about 3 or 4 years, I ate sweet potatoes for breakfast every morning with my eggs.
That sounds good.
I don't do it anymore, but I used to just take a fresh sweet potato and wash it and just cut it in slices with a knife, lay them out on a plate and microwave them for about 2 minutes. And they were delicious. I would have them with my eggs every morning.
You'd be nowhere without that microwave.
Well, I'd go back to the old fashioned, but it's just, we've worn out 3 microwaves in the past 10 years.
I don't doubt it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You probably glow in the dark too.
Well, that's all we have about sweet potatoes today. We hope you will enjoy them in your Thanksgiving meal and beyond. As we said, you can enjoy them year-round. So, Produce Buzzers podcast fans, it's time for your favorite segment on Produce Buzzers podcast. Or maybe it's not your favorite segment. But anyway, we're going to subject you to it anyway. This is our segment called Homegrown. And Teresa Nolan, who is our pun aficionado, is going to bring us another homegrown. Teresa, what's the pun of the day?
What is the most popular wine at Thanksgiving?
What is the most popular wine at Thanksgiving?
CJ doing the dishes.
Are you saying that he whines about it?
No, I
I
don't mind to cook, but I don't like to do the dishes.
I thought when you said wine that you meant like he whines that he has to do the dishes. Like,
No, that's me. I whine.
oh, okay.
She's
I
CJ.
think she might be on the right track, though. I just have a hunch. She might.
Yes,
Be.
yes.
So, Teresa.
Okay.
Well, here's my best guess.
Okay.
My best guess is I don't drink wine generally, but I like a good shot of wild turkey at Thanksgiving.
Do you start whining after you have it?
Yeah.
Oh gosh.
All right.
Well, you're getting kind of close.
Yeah.
But the most popular wine at Thanksgiving is I don't like Brussels sprouts.
That's good.
That was actually a good one. I'm not even going to groan. That's so good. Especially after we talked about Brussels sprouts. Anyway, okay.
Yeah.
That wraps up our special holiday Thanksgiving episode here at Produce Buzz. Thanks for joining us, and we hope you will join us next week for another episode. But until then, we wish you a very happy and healthy Thanksgiving. Good night. Well, thank you, listeners, for tuning in to the Produce Buzzers podcast, brought to you by Produce Buzz, the gathering place for lovers of fresh fruits and veggies. We hope you were entertained a bit and educated a lot about fresh produce. Be sure to join us next time, and please tell your friends to do so as well. Like, share, and comment on our Produce Buzz Facebook page, and check out our website at www.producebuzz.com. There you will find articles about fresh fruits and veggies, how to select, store, and prepare them, as well as lots of interesting facts about all the wonderful bounty the earth provides for us. Until next time, be fruitful and don't forget to veg out.